Hello! With each lesson, you know more and more. And because you know now what are functions, you can finally make a useful program, like one that can, for example, take data, that can download data from users. Will not assign to variables manually values like, for example, that, but we will take it from users. So, how to take the characters from users, how to take data from users, from the input? Well, we need to use the function that is called input. And after it, of course, we need to use parentheses because in order to invoke function, you need to use parentheses. This means for interpreter that he needs to go and look up for the name input and do things that are responsible for taking the characters from input. When you run the module, as you can see here, the carriage sign, so that one that is blinking here, is waiting for us to put something here. I will put, for example, 4. And what happened? Nothing. Because, well, that thing that we did right now is like equal to doing something like that. Okay? As I have said, when the function goes somewhere to make the instructions that are responsible for that, for how the function is working, that interpreter will come back here and return the thing, like, for example, in this situation, 4. And that's all. So we need to assign that value to something so we can reuse it, right? So I think that's the best idea, to use the variable here, right? So let's call a variable a and now run the module. Now, when we put 5, it means that here is 5, right? So it means that we can access the variable called a like that. And as you can see, we have got now here 5. But you should notice one thing. Hey, this is a string. I put here number, but here is string. Why? And what will happen if I want to add 2 strings to each other? Well, let's start from adding 2 strings to each other. So let's create another variable and let's take 2 things from user. For example, 5 and 10. And let's add a plus b. And you probably know that 5 plus 10 is equal to 15. It's not 510. Why it's 510? Because a is now a string, b is now a string, and it's like that. 5, 1, 0. You added 2 strings. You connected 2 strings to each other. That's all. Because you need to remember that everything that you take from user is gonna be always interpreted as string. It's a good idea because we don't know exactly what user can write, right? So if you want to change the string into integer, you need to use another function that can do it for you. And this function is called, guess what? Int. Like that. So you need to only do something like that on input. And now here we will have integers. We can check it out also like that. As you can see, we changed the values to 5 and 10. Oh, you can also use the float function like that. But, well, we are adding 2 numbers and that are not, the float numbers, so we do not need to use the float here. But, if you had assumed that somebody want to add 2 float numbers, then why not? You should use the float function. So that thing that you change the type from one to another is called casting. Casting, like that. Casting allows you to change one type of variable to another type of variable. Okay, like that. So we have learned that in order to add numbers like that, we need to use casting, right? Okay, so we can now print the result like that, for example, instantly. And it will work fine. 5 and 10, we've just added it. But what if I wanted to say something like the sum of A and B is equal to, like that. Will that module work fine? Oh, it's not working fine. We can see that must be str not in, which means that, hey, he was expecting string, not integer. Because, hey, here is string, here are two integers, and we cannot add two different types to each other like that. You can add float to int, it will work, because these are numbers, but you can't add string to int. You need to remember about it. So you need to change the result of that into string again. Okay? If we did it like that, of course it's gonna work, but the result will be 510 because these are strings now, right? But if we do it like that, we have to somehow change it back to string. But the result, we do not want to change it like that. Well, in order to change it, you need to use the str function, right? But if we do it like that, of course, the program will work fine. 5 and 10, but we have unexpected result, right? 510. We need to use it on the result. So after the A is added to B, we're gonna use the str function on the result. So we need to use just the parentheses on both of them at once, right? Like that. And now when you run this module, as you can see, it's working fine. Great. We need to also add a space here so, well, it looks a bit better, right? Like that. Bam, 5, 10. Great. Okay, there is one more thing to learn in this lesson. Like, for example, that you can send an argument to input function. Because, well, right now, really, when I put 15 and 10, I don't know exactly why I put here 5 and why I put here 10. I know because I created this program, but, you know, the user will not know what he's exactly doing. So I think it's a good idea to say something like a program that adds two numbers to each other. And then you can ask the user for the first number. First number, second number. When I run the module, as you can see now, it's asking us for the first number and second number. Great, right? And we also need to add the space here in order to make it look a bit better, right? Okay, there is also one more thing that I want to show you in this lesson. It's the comma sign that you can use in the print. Because, you know, adding each time spaces like that is taking lots of time, and so why bother doing it when you can use, instead of the plus sign, the comma? What will happen? As you can see, the space was added here automatically because this is the default separator for the print function. You can change it, we won't talk about it right now, but hey, this is a default separator, and each time the print function sees the comma, it will add the the space and show the next thing that is after the comma. And what is cool is that you do not need to use the casting on this now, because you are not connecting this to this, okay? So you do not need to use the str function that is casting the integer result into the string, right? So it's also cool because you can now do something like that. Sum of A, and we can now say, well, A is equal to, so sum of A that is equal to A, like that. And, or I can write plus B is equal to, and when you run the module, you will notice that we have got here sum of a is equal to 5. Oh, we don't need to add space here, right? It's important that we do not need to remember about it because we have 2 spaces now here. So I need, okay. Sum of a that is equal to 5 plus b is equal to 15. Oh, I should have said that b that is equal to, for example, b is equal to okay, now when I run the module, sum of a that is equal to 5 plus b that is equal to 10 is equal to 15. Great. So the cool thing about it is that you do not need to add the spaces here, and you do not need to care about what type is that variable here, right? The print function will just work fine, and it will print out the result like that, right? But you still, of course, need to use the casting method like int here, because otherwise the result is 510, like I said before. So it's time for exercise. Make a program that will ask user for his name and his age. And after it, show up what is his name and tell him what will be his age in 1 year time. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to ask.